This video is going to be a demonstration of how to factor a quadratic equation by grouping using the box method. So typically we're seeing something that starts like this. This is just a example that actually has a box for you. So you could also draw your own box if you're not given one. So how do we fill this box in? This first box right here is always going to be the first term in your equation. So for us, that's going to be 3x squared. This other white box down here is always going to be the last term. So for us, that's going to be 4. So we filled in those two pieces of the box, but what goes in those yellow boxes, these diagonals right here? That's what we're going to be using this for. So we need to find two numbers that multiply to what? Well, it's going to figure out what this number is going to be that we're trying to figure out what it multiplies to, we're going to multiply the first number, so what we also call the A value, this 3 times the last, which is the 4. So 3 times 4 is 12. And I'm just going to write off to the side that was 3 times 4. That's where that came from. So we want to find two numbers that multiply to be 12, and then this add to is always our middle term. So in our case, it's -8. Notice that the sign in front of the number goes with the number. So we need to find two numbers that multiply to 12 and add to be -8. Those two numbers we select are going to be going in these diagonals. So how do we find the numbers? You might see it right away and you're going to put those in the box, but if not, you can make a list of the factors. I'm going to demonstrate how to do that. I could have 1 times 12, and I could also have -1 times -12. 1 times 12 is 12, and 1 plus 12 is 13. Well, that's not it. I'm looking for -8. -1 times -12 is +12, but if I add them, I get -13. That doesn't help me. So I'm going to see if 2 can go into those. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry. So I could have 2 times 6. And I could also have -2 times -6. So 2 times 6 is 12. If I add them together, I get +8, but I'm looking for -8. -2 times -6 is +12, and when I add them, I get -8. So these are my numbers. This pair is my number, and I'm going to actually highlight them a different color just to kind of point out that this is the pair of factors I need. They meet the criteria of multiplying to +12 and adding to -8. Now that I found those numbers, I can put them in these yellow boxes, which somehow got funky formatted. Excuse that. It doesn't matter where you put the -2 or the -6. It'll still work out, but we do need to put an X next to them. So I'm just going to put them here, put X's next to them, and then I like the boxes to be the same size because I'm just looking that way. So we filled in the inside of the box. Now we can find the outside, which is actually going to be our factor. Here's the method I like to use. I know that these are always going to have X's. Spoiler alert, it's always going to be that way for quadratics, but if you think about these boxes in terms of multiplying, X times X is X squared. So that's how we know it works. But where do the numbers come from? Well, let's look at this row first. You could guess and check your numbers, but a more strategic way to do it is think, what's the largest number you can divide into 3 and you can divide into 6? The largest number that goes into 3 and 6 is 3. So that's what goes there. Now I'm going to move over to this box and I'm going to be looking down the column. Because when I look down the column, the first thing I see is a negative, I'm going to put a negative there. And then I'm going to think, what's the largest number that can go into 2 and go into 4? The largest number that goes into 2 and 4 is 2. I always like to try my smallest number first, and that happens to work in this case. So we did the columns. We're going to do the rows now. The largest number that can go into 3 and into 2, it's just 1. You can put a 1 in front of the x if you want. I'm just going to leave it as x. It means the same thing. And then we have one more row to do. Because the first thing I see in this row is a negative, I'm going to put a negative here. And then I'm going to think, what's the largest number that can go into 6 and into 4? And that number is 2. I have just used the box to find my factors. They're the yellow outside boxes. So if I come down here, I'm going to actually write them out as factors. So I would have 3x minus 2. Let's put some spaces in there so it's a little easier to read. And I have x minus 2. These are coming from the side. It doesn't matter what order you put them in. So those are my factors. Now, on worksheet 315, Mr. Klein wanted you to find the solutions. The way we find our solutions is we set each factor equal to 0 and solve for x. I'm going to write that out. So here's what it's going to look like. Scroll up a little bit. I'm going to do 3x minus 2 equals 0. And I'm going to do x minus 2 equals 0. And I'm just going to algebraically solve for x. So to do that, I need to get x by itself. I'm just going to add 2 to both sides here. And let's insert a line so it looks more like an equation. So I'm left with 3x. The minus 2 plus 2 cancel out. 0 plus 2 is 2. I'm going to divide both sides by 3 because I want to get x by itself. I'll insert another little line there. Oh, that looks kind of weird. Bear with me. I'm going to divide both sides by 3. So let's see, how can I show that? Maybe I'll just use a division sign for sake of writing. I would normally not do this. I would do a line. But when you're typing, it's a little different. So when I do that, I'm left with x equals, it's just 2 over 3. If you want to put it in the calculator and get 0.666, that's fine. I am happy with it coming in a fraction form of 2 over 3. So that's the solution. That's one of our solutions. Over here, for this other factor, when we set it equal to 0, we're just going to do the same thing, add 2 to both sides because we want to get x by itself. And when we do that, on this left side, we're left with an x. Choose negative 2 plus 2, that cancels out to 0, and 0 plus 2 is 2. So our solutions, we have 2 solutions. Oops, they are x equals 2 and x equals 2/3. So that's a full problem, how we would do everything together, putting it all together. Let's try to make it fit in the screen so you can see the whole thing. If I went too fast, watch it again, slow it down, pause where you need to pause, and take some notes for yourself. And hopefully this clarified things for you. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you have a great day.